You ever sit across from a woman and feel something's off? She's not rude, not exactly warm either, just guarded. Like she's there, but not fully, careful with her words, polite smiles, slightly distant. And you're left wondering, is she just being nice, or is she actually into me? Let me tell you something that most men miss something almost no one talks about out loud. Some of the women who are most deeply attracted to you are also the ones most afraid you'll reject them. Let that sink in. They don't flirt. They don't playfully tease. They don't throw obvious signals your way. Instead, they hesitate. They hold back. They play it safe. Not because they're not interested, but because they're terrified they've read it wrong. You see, when a woman really sees something in you, something different, it doesn't just excite her. It shakes her. Because now there's something to lose. If she miscalculates, if she takes a step forward and it's not returned, she risks embarrassment, disappointment, even emotional pain. So what does she do? She hides, she gets quiet, plays neutral, pretends she's unaffected while inside her mind is racing. You ever had a conversation that felt completely casual, only to find out later she remembered every word? That's what I'm talking about. And here's the tragic part. Most men misread this. They see her hesitation as disinterest. They assume she's not into them, so they walk away. Meanwhile, she goes home, replaying the conversation in her head, wondering why he didn't notice, why he didn't stay just a moment longer. And it's not just a missed connection, it's a misunderstanding. That's where we begin today. Because this video isn't about pickup tricks or confidence hacks. It's about perception, awareness, stillness. It's about seeing what most men don't and responding with strength that's not loud, but grounded. We're diving deep into 10 hidden signs a woman is deeply attracted to you but terrified to show it. Some signs will be in her words, others in her silence. Some will show up in the tiniest shifts of body language, so subtle they vanish if you're not paying attention. But once you see them, you'll never unsee them again. And this isn't about becoming manipulative. It's not about using these signs to get something from her. It's about honoring what's real, beneath the fear, beneath the noise. Because a Stoic man doesn't rush in. He observes, he listens. He reads not just what's being said, but what's being felt. He doesn't need reassurance to feel worthy. He doesn't take silence as a no or attention as a yes. He moves from presence, not ego. And that kind of presence, women feel it. They lean into it, even when they don't know why. So if you've ever felt confused by a woman's mixed signals, if you've ever wondered, why does she seem distant but never walks away? Or if you've sensed something underneath the surface but didn't have the language to explain it, then this video is for you. Because today, we're decoding what lies behind her guarded glance, her nervous laugh, her cautious posture. Not with judgment, but with clarity. This is Stoic Heart Daily, and we don't do surface level here. We do truth, presence, and masculine emotional intelligence that speaks without shouting. So take a breath, get still, and let's begin. Have you ever been in a room and you just know someone wants to talk to you? She walks by slowly, glances in your direction, maybe even smiles faintly. But when the moment comes to speak, she doesn't. She looks away, pretends to be checking her phone, or suddenly busies herself with something that clearly doesn't matter. And you're left wondering, was that something? Or am I just imagining things? Let's clear the air right now. That moment of hesitation, it's not random. It's not disinterest. It's not shyness. It's attraction, mixed with fear. See, when a woman feels genuinely drawn to a man, especially one she perceives as emotionally grounded or different from the rest, it's not always exciting. Sometimes it's nerve-wracking. Because now, there's more at stake. She doesn't want to look foolish. She doesn't want to misread you. She doesn't want to be vulnerable with someone who might not feel the same. So instead of boldly walking up to you and saying, "Hi," she waits. She waits for a signal. A look, a smile, a gentle invitation that tells her, "I see you. You're safe here." But here's where most men miss the mark. They see her pause and assume she's uninterested. So they pull back, say nothing, move on. And the moment quiet, charged, vulnerable slips away. What if I told you? That hesitation is one of the clearest signs she's into you. Not casually, not playfully, but deeply. In a way that makes her nervous. She's not unsure about you. She's unsure about whether it's safe to let you see what she feels. This is where the Stoic man separates himself from the reactive man. A Stoic man doesn't chase validation. He doesn't jump to conclusions. He doesn't try to break the ice with bravado. Instead, he observes. He recognizes that in a world of performative dating, a woman's silence often says more than her words. It says, "I see you. I want to connect. But I need to know you're not going to hurt me just by brushing me off. Let me give you a real-world image. You're standing in line at a coffee shop. She's behind you. You lock eyes briefly. She doesn't say a word, but she doesn't move away either. She's closer than she needs to be. She adjusts her necklace, tugs at her sleeve, looks down, then back again. That's not small talk waiting to happen. That's a doorway waiting for someone emotionally present enough to walk through it. So what do? You don't lunge at the moment. You don't get loud. You don't try to impress her with a rehearsed line. You say something light, grounded. Like, "This place is always packed at this time." Nothing flirty, nothing heavy, just space. And if she steps into it, now you're not chasing her. You're meeting her on equal ground. Because attraction doesn't always need fireworks. Sometimes it just needs safety. And a man who can offer calm energy in a world full of loud performers? He's not just attractive. He's unforgettable. So next time you notice a woman hesitating, lingering, glancing, pulling back, don't rush to judgment. Don't let ego convince you it's about you. Instead, ask yourself, what if her silence is her way of saying, "I want to, but I don't know if I can"? That's not weakness. That's courage. Waiting for permission. And you, if you choose to stay present, still, open, might be the one who gives it to her. Stay tuned, because in the next sign, we'll go even deeper into the kind of eye contact that doesn't just look. It confesses. Have you ever been in a room with a woman and you know, on some deeper level, that she's aware of you? You catch her in your peripheral vision. She's not staring, but she's checking in. A glance, then nothing. Then another one, so quick you almost think you imagined it. But here's what's strange. Every time your eyes try to meet hers, she looks away. Fast. Like she just touched something too hot. Now most men, they'd assume that means she's uninterested. But they're wrong, because sometimes when a woman avoids your eyes, it's not because she doesn't feel something. It's because she feels too much. Let's break this down. Direct eye contact, when there's genuine emotion behind it, isn't casual. It's intimate, exposing. It's like holding your soul too close to the fire. And for a woman who's been hurt, judged, or misunderstood before, eye contact becomes risky territory. Looking directly at you might mean you'll see her. Not just her face, but her hesitation, her interest, her fear. And so instead, she steals moments, quick glances, sideways looks, tiny windows of curiosity that vanish the second you try to look back. This isn't random. It's attraction, wrapped in caution. There's actually a Stoic concept for this. It's called oikeiosis. It describes the subtle, natural pull we feel toward what resonates with us. It's not loud, not forced, but it's real. That's what you're witnessing in those stolen glances. Her logical mind says, look away, stay guarded. But her emotional body whispers, just one more look. And if you're present enough, still enough, you'll feel the difference. See, polite glances are casual, passive, But the ones she steals? They're loaded. They usually come right after you say something meaningful, or when you're not looking, and she thinks it's safe to admire you without being caught. Here's an example you might have experienced. You're at a dinner party. She's across the room, talking to someone else. You're not engaging her directly, not even trying. And yet, for some reason, you turn your head and boom. She looks away instantly. Too instantly. That flash of movement wasn't just coincidence. It was a moment of exposure. And her instinct? To hide it. Now this is where the Stoic man sets himself apart. He doesn't make a big deal out of it. He doesn't smirk, tease, or chase. He doesn't make her discomfort about his ego. He simply notices, because he knows that some of the most honest emotions are the ones we try hardest to hide. So the next time a woman seems to avoid your eyes, but you catch her looking when she thinks you won't notice, don't second guess it. Don't overthink it. Don't turn it into a power play. Just understand. She sees you. And she's hoping. You won't make it harder for her to keep looking. She's waiting for a man who doesn't need her attention to feel worthy, but who's grounded enough to recognize it when it comes in quiet, unspoken ways. So here's the takeaway. You don't need to force eye contact. You don't need to lock eyes like it's some kind of game. You just need to stay steady. Let her glance. Let her feel the safety of your stillness. Let her come closer, not physically, but emotionally on her terms. Because when a woman feels she can look at you without being exposed, pressured, or judged, she starts to show up differently. Not just with her eyes, but with her energy. And that shift? That's when connection begins. You ever talk to a woman, and everything seems fine on the surface? She's smiling, nodding, making conversation. But then, she keeps touching her necklace, tucks her hair behind her ear for the third time, adjusts her sleeves, shifts her weight, fidgets with her cup, her phone, her keys. Anything. It's subtle, but constant. And most guys, they misread it completely. They think she's bored, impatient, maybe even wants to leave. But here's the truth. Most men never realize. She's not trying to leave. She's trying to manage the pressure she feels. Because you're in the room, that restlessness, it's not disinterest. It's attraction. Attraction. Mixed with emotional overload. See, when a woman feels nothing around you, she's composed. Maybe even a little cold. But when she feels drawn to you, especially if you're grounded and present in a way she's not used to, her body starts trying to keep up with her emotions, and that shows up in small, physical ways. Touching her jewelry, readjusting her posture, twisting her fingers. It's not decoration. It's self-regulation. She's not nervous about the conversation itself. She's nervous about you. Nervous about what you see when you look at her. Nervous about whether she's coming across the right way. Nervous, maybe, because your stillness is stirring something in her that she didn't expect. This is where Stoicism offers a powerful insight. Through the principle of apatheia. Apatheia isn't indifference. It's not cold detachment. It's inner composure. A centeredness that doesn't rise and fall with every external ripple. And here's the paradox. When you embody that kind of presence, when your energy is still, grounded, quietly strong, people around you begin to move more. Why? Because your calm becomes a mirror. It makes others more aware of their own nervous energy. Especially those who feel attracted to you, but don't quite know how to handle it. Let me give you a story. A man I know met a woman at a lounge. She seemed polished, confident. The kind of woman who probably gets approached all the time. But as they talked, he noticed something strange. She kept pulling at her sweater sleeves, constantly. Not once. Not twice. Over and over. She wasn't cold. She wasn't uncomfortable. She was self-conscious. Later she admitted, "I don't know what it was. It just felt like you could see through me." I couldn't relax. She wasn't intimidated by him. She was stirred by his energy, his stillness. She felt exposed. Not because he was prying, but because he wasn't performing. That's the power of being rooted. So what do you do when you notice a woman fidgeting like this? You don't call it out. You don't tease her for being nervous. And you definitely don't mirror it by getting jittery yourself. Instead, you anchor the moment. You become the calm in the room. Let her energy move around yours. Let her settle naturally into the stillness you're holding. Because here's the beautiful truth. You don't have to fix her nervousness. You just have to not flinch in the face of it. You'd be amazed how many women are used to men who either chase them or collapse under their energy. But when a man stays still, present, attentive, but unaffected, that's rare and unforgettable. So next time you're talking to a woman and you notice her fingers twitching, her hair getting readjusted, her posture shifting, don't read it as discomfort. Don't let it shake your sense of self. Just know that's not anxiety about you. That's attraction. Trying not to look like attraction. And your job? Just stay right where you are. Let me ask you something. Has a woman ever asked you a question that felt casual on the surface, but something about the way she asked it, something underneath, just felt loaded? Like she says, "So, do you usually spend weekends alone?" Or, "Wow, your apartment's really tidy. Is that your doing?" Maybe even, "You don't seem like someone who stays single very long." Now she's not really asking about your laundry habits. She's not trying to compliment your organization skills. And she's definitely not making small talk. She's probing, but not in a confrontational way. Not even in a direct way. She's feeling something. She's curious. But she doesn't want to admit she's curious. So she wraps it in something that looks safe, casual, playful. That's not just conversation. That's attraction. Wearing a disguise. See, when a woman isn't interested, none of these questions show up. She's not thinking about how you spend your Sundays. She's not wondering who's texting you when your phone buzzes. She's not mentally placing herself into your life. But when she is interested, when she's imagining what it might be like to be part of your world, she starts looking for openings, clues, answers, without asking for them directly. Why? Because asking you, "Hey, are you single?" is too vulnerable, too exposed. It risks too much. If you say yes, to decide what to do next. If you say no, she has to hide the sting. So instead, she tosses you a line and watches how you reel it in. And here's where most men mess it up. They either miss the question entirely, or they pounce thinking it's a green light to brag or flirt back. But the Stoic man, he doesn't do either. He hears the real question behind the question. And he responds not with charm or strategy, but with presence. Let me show you what that sounds like. She says, "So, you live alone?" You say, "Yeah, I like the peace. Helps me think clearly." Simple, grounded. You're not showing off. You're not being evasive. You're just letting her see a window into your life, without turning it into bait. Because here's the deeper truth. She's not just looking for a yes or no. She's listening to how you talk about yourself. Do you sound bitter? Do you seem like you're still clinging to a past relationship? Do you speak with confidence? Or does something in your tone sound unsettled? She's not just asking, "Are you single?" She's asking, "Are you available emotionally, spiritually, psychologically?" Big difference. Let me tell you a real story. A guy once told me about a coworker who always asked about his weekends. "You go hiking a lot, huh? Your dog looks cute in those photos. Do you take her out alone?" At first, he thought she was just being chatty. Then one day, she dropped this. "Your type probably doesn't stay single for long." No follow-up, no eye contact. She just left it hanging. And that was her way of saying, "I see you, I'm curious, but I'm not ready to say it out loud." So what did he do? He didn't laugh it off. He didn't push for more. He just let the space breathe. Stayed composed. Present. That's Stoic masculinity in action. So the next time a woman asks you a question that feels just a little too personal for the context, pay attention, because that small moment might not be small. At all. It might be her way of saying, I want to know if there's room for me in your life, even if I don't quite know how to ask. In a world full of distractions, deep attention is a rare currency. We scroll, swipe, skim, rarely stopping long enough to hear someone fully. But every once in a while, you meet a woman who listens to you in a way that makes you pause. Not the polite kind of listening, not the fake it till you smile routine, but real, engaged, full body presence. She's quiet, but she's tuned in. You say something, anything, and she locks in. She leans in slightly. She nods not just out of habit, but because she's tracking you. And later, she remembers things you forgot. You even said maybe your favorite book, the way your brother made you laugh as a kid, even the offhand comment you made about that one coffee shop that reminds you of home. And she doesn't just bring it up to prove she was listening. She weaves it back into the conversation as if those details matter to her, because they do. See, when a woman listens to you this deeply, it's not just intellectual interest. It's emotional investment. She's not just hearing your words, she's entering your world. And here's the twist. She's not just evaluating what you're saying. She's watching how you carry yourself while you say it. Are you confident in your story or apologizing for it? Do you speak with calm, or do you race through your thoughts like you're afraid of silence? Are you clear or are you performative? Because for a woman who's listening with her heart, not just her ears, it's not the content of your words that leaves an impression. It's your presence while saying them. There's a Stoic principle that speaks directly to this. Logos. In Stoic philosophy, logos is more than language. It's the structure of the universe, reason, clarity, alignment between thought and word. When your speech is calm, purposeful, and honest, you speak with logos. And people feel it, especially women, because so many men talk just to fill the silence, to impress, to dominate. But when a man speaks from stillness, not for attention, but from reflection, his words carry a different weight. A woman who's tired of noise will feel that shift. And instead of talking over you, she'll go quiet. She makes space for you to share more. And in doing so, she's saying, you don't need to entertain me. I'm not here for a performance. I want to see who you really are. Let me give you an example. A man once told me about a dinner party. Loud music, group conversation, jokes flying around the table. But when it was his turn to speak, he shared a story about his father, something quiet, not flashy, just honest. He noticed one woman stopped laughing. She turned her head, locked eyes, and didn't say a word. 10 minutes later, when the topic had shifted, she referenced what he said, added something thoughtful. And from that moment on, they weren't just two people at the same party. They were in something deeper. A dialogue. That's what real attention creates. Not flirtation, not entertainment, but resonance. So how do you recognize this sign? Watch for the woman who listens not with her face, but with her attention. She doesn't interrupt. She doesn't make it about her. She's sitting with your words, letting them land, and later, she circles back to them. Not because she's trying to impress you, but because they meant something to her. And what do you do when you see this? You don't overtalk. You don't get high off the validation. You don't turn her listening into a stage for your ego. You stay grounded. You stay clear. You speak less, but you speak with depth. Because when a woman listens like that, she's not just hearing a man speak. She's wondering if this might finally be a man worth listening to. Have you ever been in a conversation with a woman, maybe weeks after your last real interaction, and out of nowhere, she brings up something you barely remember saying? Maybe you once mentioned you used to bike to school every day. Or that you don't like November because it reminds you of a loss. And then one day, she asks, do you still ride like you did back then? Or softly says, I figured this month might feel heavy for you. And you freeze for a second, because you didn't even remember. You told her that, but she did. Let me tell you something most men don't fully grasp. When a woman remembers the small stuff, it's never just about memory. It's about meaning. Anyone can remember facts, but the details she holds onto, the ones she stores in her heart, not her phone, are signals, markers, tiny threads that tell her who you are beneath the surface. She's not just listening to stories. She's tracking your emotional blueprint, your values, your resilience, your regrets, the weight of your words, even when you said them lightly. This is where the Stoic idea of prohairesis comes into play. Prohairesis is your inner faculty of judgment, the part of you that chooses your responses, your direction, your integrity. And when a woman is truly attracted, not just to your appearance, but to your character, that's what she tunes into. Not the highlights, not the resume, but the way you carried yourself through hard seasons, the quiet strength behind your decisions. And so, when she remembers that you once mentioned your dad left when you were a kid, or how your calmness comes from years of pressure in a job you outgrew, she's not trying to impress you. She's connecting the dots. She's studying who you are underneath the surface. And here's the twist. She's not doing this because she's obsessed. She's doing it because she's investing. Quietly, cautiously, but with real, emotional depth. Think about it. When you care about someone, you remember the way they laughed at a dumb joke, the book they said changed their life, that scar on their wrist and the story behind it. Attraction isn't always loud. Sometimes it's archival. Mental sticky notes that whisper, this person matters. Don't forget this. Let me share a real story. A man once told me he'd mentioned completely offhand to a coworker that his dog had passed away in November. He forgot he ever said it. Months later, he was having a rough week, didn't say much. And she quietly asked, is it because November's coming? He was stunned, not because it was dramatic, but because it was real. She didn't try to fix it. She didn't make a big deal. She just noticed. Held the moment with care. That's attraction, not performance. Presence. And when you recognize that kind of presence, don't brush it off. Don't make a joke out of it. And for the love of God, don't underestimate it. Because she's not asking for applause. She's giving you a signal. I've been paying attention. Even when you thought no one was. So the next time a woman brings up something you mentioned weeks or months ago, something so small you forgot it ever came up, pause. Because that moment, that quiet callback to your past, it's her way of saying, I don't just see the man you are today. I'm curious about the path that made you him. And that curiosity, that's not casual. It's the beginning of something real. Have you ever noticed a woman sitting across from you, and something just feels in sync? You lean back, and a moment later, so does she. You rest your hand on the table, and soon hers follows. You shift your posture, maybe just slightly, and somehow she shifts too. Now, you didn't say anything. You didn't ask her to move, but her body followed yours. What you just witnessed isn't a trick. It's not flirting in the obvious sense. It's something deeper, emotional alignment. It's called mirroring. And when it's subtle, unconscious, and consistent, it means far more than words ever could. Because we don't mirror people we're neutral about. We mirror people we feel emotionally connected to, even if we're afraid to admit it out loud. Here's the science behind it. In neuroscience, it's called limbic resonance. It's when two people begin to unconsciously harmonize their nervous systems, not by logic, but by feel. It's like two instruments tuning to the same key, not because they're trying to, but because they're drawn to the same vibration. And when a woman subtly mirrors your posture, your gestures, even your breathing, that's not just politeness. That's her body saying, I feel safer when I'm in rhythm with you. But here's the key. True mirroring isn't immediate. It's not mimicry, it's delayed, it's soft. It's emotionally timed. She's not copying you like a child imitating an adult. She's not even aware she's doing it. That's why it matters. Let me share an example. A man once told me about a colleague he'd known for years. Nothing romantic, at least not on the surface. But during long meetings, he started noticing something strange. If he leaned forward, hands clasped, she'd do the same. About 10 to 15 seconds later, if he leaned back and crossed his legs, she would subtly, almost shyly adjust to match him. At first, he thought it was coincidence. But over time, he tested it. Different rooms, different moods. And the pattern held. Eventually, she confessed she'd had feelings for him for over a year, but didn't want to risk the friendship. So her body said what her words never did. That's the quiet power of mirroring. It bypasses ego. It bypasses logic. And it speaks in the language of feeling. So what do you do when you notice it? You don't call it out. You don't say, "Hey, are you copying me?" You don't turn it into a joke or a game. You just stay present, because that alignment she's unconsciously reaching for, it's fragile. And calling it out might make her retreat. Instead, you hold your ground. You stay still, calm, unmoved. Because your stillness isn't just attractive. It's anchoring. When a woman is drawn to your presence, but unsure if it's safe to lean in emotionally, her body starts testing the waters, not with words, but with posture, with breath, with rhythm. It's her nervous system's way of saying, "I want to follow you, but I need to feel how steady you are first." So let her follow, not by chasing, not by leading loudly, but by being the still center she can unconsciously align with. And here's something to remember. Mirroring doesn't always mean attraction. Sometimes people mirror to fit in, to empathize. But when it's layered, consistent, and emotionally timed, especially in moments of quiet or tension, that's not social comfort. That's emotional resonance. So next time you're mid-conversation and you realize she's sitting just like me, pause. Because that moment might mean more than you think. It's not about dominance. It's not about tricks. It's about tuning in two people. One silent rhythm, and maybe, just maybe, it's her way of saying, "I don't know how to tell you I'm drawn to you, so I'll show you the only way I can." Have you ever said something that wasn't even meant to be funny, and she laughed? Not a loud belly laugh. Not the kind you'd hear at a stand-up show, but a quick, awkward giggle, like her body reacted before her brain had time to catch up. And then she gets quiet. Maybe she looks down. Maybe she even says, "I don't know why I'm laughing." Let me tell you something most men overlook. That awkward little laugh. It's not about humor. It's about pressure. When a woman feels truly drawn to you, especially in a way that surprises her, her body often reacts before her words can keep up. And one of the most common reactions? Laughter. Not because something's hilarious, but because laughter is the body's way of releasing tension. It's the same reason people laugh at funerals, or in the middle of an argument, or right before saying something deeply vulnerable. Laughter becomes a safety valve. It lets the pressure out when emotion builds up too high, too fast. And here's the truth. Attraction, when it's real, creates pressure, especially if she's not sure how you feel, or if you're the kind of man who carries yourself with quiet presence, who doesn't perform, doesn't chase, doesn't play the usual games. Your stillness creates contrast, and that contrast can feel overwhelming. So she laughs, not because she's trying to charm you, not because she's being polite, but because her nervous system is saying, "This is intense, and I don't know what else to do with it." Now most guys either miss this, or they make the wrong move. They try to get her to laugh again, thinking that's how to win her over. Or worse, they tease her. "Why are you laughing? That wasn't even funny." But the Stoic man doesn't do either. He doesn't try to be more entertaining. And he definitely doesn't make her feel self-conscious. He simply stays present. Still, grounded. He understands that this laughter isn't a cue for him to do more. It's a signal that she's feeling more than she knows how to express. Let me give you an example. A guy once told me about a moment in a bookstore. He was talking to a woman, just chatting about authors they liked. Nothing heavy, he mentioned. A writer he found boring. And suddenly, she laughed way harder than the comment deserved. Then, she went silent, blushed, and said, "I don't know why I laughed. You just make me nervous." Boom. There it was. That laugh carried more truth than any compliment ever could. And when you see it for what it is, not awkwardness, but emotional overflow, you start to read people differently. So next time a woman laughs at something simple, then looks away, covers her mouth, or quickly changes the subject, don't assume it means she's not interested. Assume she's processing something, internally, emotionally, and her body got ahead of her mind. Just hold the space. You don't need to react. You don't need to entertain. You don't need to fill the moment. Let the silence breathe. Let her feel your steadiness. Let her realize she can be a little off balance around you and still feel safe. Because here's the Stoic truth. You don't lead with noise. You lead with presence. And presence is what allows someone else to unfold. Even if the first sign of that unfolding is a laugh she can't explain. Have you ever noticed a woman just kind of showing up? At first, it feels like coincidence. She's at the coffee shop you always go to. She lingers after the meeting, even though everyone else has left. She drops you a meme or a casual DM, seemingly out of nowhere. You bump into her at an event you didn't even know she was interested in, and she always plays it cool. "Oh hey, didn't know you'd be here." Or, "I was just passing through." But here's the truth. She's not just passing through. She's positioning herself gently, subtly closer to you. See, for many women, especially the ones who feel vulnerable about their feelings, direct pursuit is too risky, too exposed, too loaded with potential rejection. So instead, they get close. Proximity becomes the softest form of pursuit. She doesn't say, "I want to be around you." She just is. She shows up. She stays nearby. She looks for excuses, harmless ones, to be in your orbit. Now here's where the Stoic man sees what others don't. The average guy either gets caught up in ego, thinking every interaction means something, or he's so focused on the obvious that he misses the patterns. But the Stoic man? He observes. He notices the small consistencies. The way she always finds a reason to talk to you, even in a group. The way she circles back to conversations you started. The way her presence begins to echo through your day, even in silence. He doesn't assume. He doesn't chase. But he also doesn't ignore what's quietly unfolding. Let me paint you a picture. Man I spoke with once worked in a corporate office. He started noticing that a certain coworker, whom he barely knew at first, began popping up more and more. She'd happen to need the printer when he was there. She'd forget something in the meeting room and come back just as he was leaving. She even started bringing up shared interests books he'd mentioned only once. At first, he brushed it off. But then, it kept happening. And here's the thing. She never flirted, never confessed anything, never crossed any lines, but her presence? It became unmistakable. That's when he realized she wasn't asking for attention. She was offering connection, carefully, quietly, but intentionally. And what did he do? He didn't corner her. He didn't ask for clarity. He didn't push. The moment. He simply stayed present, grounded, steady. Because when a woman makes the move to be near you without saying it out loud, the worst thing you can do is demand clarity too soon. That will only send her back into retreat. Instead, let her move at her own pace. Let her feel that she can step closer physically or emotionally, without pressure, without performance, without the fear of misreading your energy. Because here's the deeper Stoic truth. Not everything needs to be named to be understood. Her quiet presence says more than a bold confession ever could. It says, I'm drawn to something in you, and I need to know if it's safe to stay. So the next time she happens to be where you are again, don't call her out. Don't act surprised. And don't let your ego get loud. Just notice, hold space, and allow her to keep orbiting until she's ready to land. Because real attraction, it's not always obvious, but it's always intentional. There's a moment. It starts small, maybe in the middle of a casual conversation. She says something like, "You're the kind of guy I probably shouldn't like." Or, "If I were smarter, I'd stay away from someone like you." And then just as quickly she laughs, that nervous, fast kind of laugh. The one that tries to grab the words back before they hit the air too hard. She changes the subject, makes a joke, pretends it didn't mean anything, but deep down, you feel it. That wasn't just a joke. That was a confession, disguised. You see, when a woman feels something real, but isn't sure if it's mutual, she rarely comes out and says it directly. Instead, she softens it with humor. She wraps the truth in playfulness. Because truth, when left unguarded, is vulnerable. And vulnerability? It risks rejection. So she tosses the truth out like bait, wrapped in a laugh, disguised as a joke, and she waits. Not for your words, but for your reaction. Will you mock it? Will you overanalyze? Will you press her to explain what she really meant? Or will you simply hold the moment? This is where the Stoic man sets himself apart. He doesn't tease. He doesn't corner her into clarifying. He doesn't try to make the moment bigger than it needs to be. He just receives it with calm, with stillness, with presence, because he understands something deeper. She's not testing your cleverness. She's testing your emotional safety. She's asking silently, "Can I be a little real with you without being exposed?" Most men miss this. Some laugh too hard. Others jump in, pushing for more. "Wait, what do you mean by that?" Or worse, "Oh, come on, you know you like me." And just like that, the space collapses. But when a woman offers you truth in disguise, the wise man doesn't unwrap it. He just holds it. And in doing so, he gives her something rare, the space to keep being real. Let me give you an example. A guy I know was talking to a woman after work. They'd been friends for months. One day, mid-conversation, she said with a smirk, "You're the kind of guy I usually fall for and regret later." Then she laughed, looked down, changed the topic. He didn't laugh back. He didn't flirt. He didn't freeze. He just paused, held eye contact, not intense, just steady, and said nothing. Later she told him, "That was the moment I knew I could trust you," because she felt seen, not judged, not pressured, just safe. And that safety? That's what turns attraction into connection. So the next time a woman says something honest and immediately tries to cover it with laughter, don't rush to respond. Don't try to win the moment. Just breathe, stay present, and recognize that what she just gave you wasn't a joke. It was a glimpse of something real. And the more calmly you hold that moment, the more she trusts herself to show you what else is behind it. Because ultimately, what she's asking is simple. If I let you see the truth, will you still stay? And the man who stays, without needing to be reassured, is the man she'll keep coming back to. So now you've seen it. 10 signs, not guesses, not wishful thinking, but real, consistent emotional patterns that most men miss, not because they're blind, but because they're looking for something louder. Here's the truth. When a woman is truly drawn to you, it doesn't always look like confidence. It doesn't always look like flirting or bold declarations. More often, it looks like hesitation, like nervous laughter, like stolen glances or subtle shifts in posture. Because when it's real, it's risky. And in many cases, her fear speaks louder than her desire. She wants to be seen, but not exposed. She wants to move closer, but only if she knows she won't regret it. And so she sends signals not to test you, but to feel you. Your presence, your energy, your steadiness, not your clever lines. Not your ability to charm, but your ability to notice without needing. That's where the Stoic man leads from. Not from performance, not from neediness, not from a craving for validation, but from presence. He's aware deeply, but he's not reactive. He observes without assuming. He receives what's true without chasing what's missing, because he knows the loudest man in the room rarely sees the quietest truths. And the truths we're talking about? They live in silence, in the fidget, in the glance, in the breath between her words. So the question isn't, does she like me? The better question is, am I grounded enough to recognize what's already here, without needing it to be louder? That's what this journey is about. Not control, not manipulation, but clarity, because when you become clear, the world responds. People open up. Women trust you with more of themselves. Not because you demanded it, but because you created the kind of space where truth doesn't have to hide. That's rare. And that's why you're here. So if something in this video stirred something inside you, if you started to recognize patterns you've seen but never understood, if you're ready to live from that deeper place, stick around. This is what we do here at Stoic Heart Daily. We don't teach tricks. We sharpen perception, we develop presence, and we build emotional strength that doesn't need noise to be powerful. So if this resonated with you, subscribe. And if you want to go further, join the Stoic Heart Daily. It's where this practice becomes a path, and where you'll be held to a higher standard by men walking it with you, because you were never meant to guess your way through life and connection. You were meant to see clearly and move with stillness. Let's keep going.